I am Debbie Egizio, and I am in snowy Chicago, Illinois. I am freezing, and I'm going to go into the house. This is my studio and my dining room. Today I'm going to make this watercolor collage. I'm going to start working on the background, and I start off with a piece of wood that I buy at the craft store, and this is the kind that I like to get with a little bit of a beveled edge. This way I don't need to frame it out when I'm finished. I'm going to paint my piece, and I'm going to use an acrylic paint, a little bit of green and a little bit of gold. And I'm going to mix the two probably about 50-50 with a little bit of water, so I'm going to dilute it a little bit so it flows over the wooden board easier. I'm looking to get kind of a sap green color. I'm going to paint the perimeter in green, and just a little bit of this is going to be in green because the center part is going to be in brown. I like to use these scroll pieces to add some dimension to my piece, and I need to paint these green as well. I have always been an artist. Since I was a kid, I was always drawing with colored pencils and with a sketchbook in hand everywhere I went, and even now as an adult, my artwork has a kind of a childlike quality to it. I let my piece dry for about 10 minutes, and now I'm going to do a fun little treatment with some tape. I'm going to tape off the edges, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a little jagged edge with some decal scissors. I'm using painter's tape because it's a very low tack and it won't pull the paint off with it. I pay special attention to the corners in this step so the paint doesn't get underneath there as well. I'm going to paint the background brown, and I'm going to take a little bit of the green and yellow paint that I used around the perimeter and mix it in with some brown paint, and I'm going to add some water to dilute it, and now I'm just going to start painting inside the center. I like to paint it darker around the edges and lighter in the center just to give it a little bit more depth. I let the brown color paint set up for about 5 minutes. I still want it to be wet so that I can work some details into there, and I'm going to use some red and some cream color. This is going to make it look a little bit more finished and pretty and girly because I'm going to add some little swirls in here. The circles that I just painted look a little harsh, so I'm going to take a dry brush and soften them a little bit. I've softened up all of my swirls. Now I'm going to remove this tape to reveal the jagged edge. I'm going to dry brush this piece now with some contrasting color. I'm going to start with the brown and just go around the edges. And now I'm just going to take a little bit of the red and some yellow and just mix the paints up, just so that I have a little bit of all the colors that are in the center. I'm going to do the same thing to the scrolls. I'm going to dry brush those as well. Now that I've finished my dry brushing, I want to come up with my composition. And so I need to come up with something that is coherent and fits within that space. I'm going to use this dark paint as a template to draw the face. I want this girl to have a whimsical yet regal quality about her. So that's what I'm going for. Now I'm going to get really close so that I can see what I'm doing. As I draw my face, I let it evolve as I go along. I don't have any preconceived ideas in my head. It just freeform. I don't draw the lips on my girl because I'm going to cut some lips out of a catalog and just glue it right on there. I use watercolor paper because I want to give my pieces a watercolor effect when I paint them. Now that I have all my parts drawn out, I'm going to place everything on my canvas to see how the composition looks. I'm using some decorative paper for a background, and I'm going to take my drawn parts and place them to see how the composition looks. And I'm just going to add some really pretty detail pieces, some lips and some flowers that I cut out from a catalog to give this piece a little bit of an oomph. Sometimes I do draw the lips on my little faces, but having the cut-out lips adds a nice little touch. Now that I'm happy with the composition, I'm going to take detail scissors and very carefully cut out all of my parts. I'm going to paint my elements. I'm going to dip my paintbrush in some water and just wet the surface of my watercolor paper. And I'm going to take a detail brush and I'm going to paint these dots in yellow. As I paint, I'm not going to worry about the pencil marks because I'm going to come in with another color and I'm going to create a shadow around those pencil marks. With watercolor paper, you need to wet the paper so that the paint will flow. I just keep on painting till I have all of my watercolor components finished. I have all my components ready to assemble into my watercolor collage. I've gone ahead and glued everything together and now she's finished. Isn't she cute? She's my little flower girl.